In the far side of the galaxy, there was a floating city called Noverch. It was built by humans, high above a green and blue planet. Noverch was a beautiful city, full of tall towers, shining lights, and advanced machines. People from many worlds visited Noverich. It was a symbol of human success in space. And sitting on the throne of Noverich was a young girl named Mira. Mira was not like other rulers. She was young, smart, and always joked with people. Many said she was too friendly to be a queen. But people loved her because she listened to everyone, rich or poor. Her laugh echoed in the royal halls. Life was peaceful under her rule, but peace never lasts long. One night, the sky over Noverich turned dark. The Drexens came. The Drexens were tall, armored creatures with red eyes. They came from the dark worlds beyond the outer systems. Nobody knew why they attacked, but when they came, they destroyed without mercy. Their ships blocked the sunlight, and their lasers burned the city Myra fought. She activated Noverich's defense grid, but it failed. Someone had betrayed her. One of her trusted council had shut down the shields. The Drexens walked into the city without a fight. Mira had to run. Her guards were killed. Her family vanished in the flames. Only Mira escaped. She fled to a desert moon called Terran 5 from a princess. She became nothing more than a scavenger. Now years had passed. Mira wore old clothes and carried scrap metal on her back. She lived in a broken ship near a junkyard. People on Terran 5 only knew her as the girl with sad eyes. But inside her heart, Myra was not broken. She laughed every day, not because she was happy, but because she refused to cry. Her throne was gone. Her family was gone. Yet her hope stayed alive. One hot afternoon, Mira sat in the junkyard fixing a broken robot. She spoke to herself as usual. Haha. Restore my throne, and the star jewel is all yours, she joked to the silent machine. Oh, wait, no one listens to me anymore. She threw a rusty wrench at the robot. The dust flew up. At that moment, a shadow fell over her. Mira looked up. A man stood there. He wore desert armor and carried a blaster pistol. His face was sharp, and his hair was messy from the dry wind. Who are you? Mira asked, standing quickly. I should ask you the same. It's my robot you're breaking. Mira laughed. Your robot? It was dead. It's mine now. He pulled the robot away. Mira narrowed her eyes. Fine, take it. As he turned to leave, Mira said, You're not from here. No, the man replied. Then why are you here? I trade scrap, sell, machines, looking for parts. Mira stood silent for a moment. She felt something strange about him. He looked human like her, but stronger, like someone who had fought many battles. What's your name? Mira asked. Double quotes, Tareen. Double quotes. She repeated softly. And yours? He asked without looking. I'm nobody. Darren paused, looked back and said, Nobody? Strange. Name, with that, he walked away. That night, Mira sat near her small fire inside the broken ship. She looked at an old small metal object in her hand. It was a royal crest, symbol of Noverich. Her past. I'm not nobody, she whispered. Suddenly someone stepped near the ship. Mira jumped up, hiding the crest in her pocket. It was Terran. You followed me, Mira asked. I found this outside, Terran said, holding up a piece of cloth with the royal crest printed on it. This belongs to you, doesn't it? Mira froze. Terran's voice became serious. You're no scavenger. Who are you really? Yeah, Mira said nothing. Terran stepped forward. That symbol, ... I know it. It's from Noverich. Myra's eyes flashed with anger and sadness. So what? That city was destroyed. I know. Terran stared at her. You're from there? I was the princess. Silence filled. The broken ship. You, Tareen said softly. Yes. My name is Mira. Mira of Noverich. Or, I was. Terran looked at her, confused and surprised. Mira saw doubt in his eyes. You think I'm lying? No, Terran said slowly. I believe. You, Mira was surprised? Why? Because you look like someone who lost everything. Mira felt tears in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. So, princess, why are you here, hiding in scrap piles? Because the Drexens took my city, and I failed. Taran sat down beside her. The fire crackled between them. Why tell? Me this now? He asked. Mira smiled sadly. Because you asked. Taran watched her quietly. After a long moment, Mira joked again, softly this time.
Aha!
Restore my throne, and maybe the Star Jewel will be yours. Taran frowned. Star Jewel? Mira leaned closer and whispered, The Star Jewel is the key to my city's power. Whoever holds it can control Navarich. Taran's eyes widened. Where is it? Mira looked into the fire. I don't know. Silence. But in that silence, a new bond was made. Two strangers, sitting by firelight, both human, both lost, and soon their journey would begin. Morning came early on Terran 5. The desert sun rose over the junk hills, turning metal piles into golden towers. Inside the broken ship, Mira sat awake, watching the small royal crest in her hand. She felt its cold metal and remembered her old life. She heard footsteps. Taran walked in without knocking. You didn't sleep? He asked. Mira smiled. Sleep is for people with no problems. Taran sat beside her. He didn't say anything for a while. He just watched her carefully. Tell me more, he said finally. About what? About the Star Jewel. Mira looked at him. For a moment she thought about lying. Then she remembered she had nothing left to lose. The Star Jewel is not just a crystal, Mira said quietly. It is the power source of Navarich. Long ago, my people found it deep in space. It's alive, ... Not like us, but in a way. It powers our shields, weapons, and city systems. Taran listened carefully. Mira continued, before the Drexens came. I ordered the jewel hidden. I wanted to protect it, but in the chaos ... I forgot where. You forgot? Taran asked, surprised. I didn't hide it myself. I trusted my counsel, and someone betrayed me. Taran nodded. He could feel the pain in her voice. If we find the Star Jewel, we can save Navarich. Mira nodded. Yes, with it I can activate the defense grid and drive out the Drexens. But the jewel is hidden somewhere far from the city, maybe deep in space. Taran looked thoughtful. I'll help you find it. Mira blinked. Why? You're human. That's reason enough. Mira felt silent. She didn't know what to say. People didn't help her anymore. Not for free. But Taran stood up and said, Pack your things. We leave at night. Where are we going? Mira asked. To my ship. You have a ship? Taran smiled slightly. It's not royal ... but it flies. That night, under the cold stars, Mira followed Taran across the desert. His small ship, called the Wind Chaser, stood hidden between rocks. It was an old freighter, with burn marks on the hull and broken lights. But to Mira, it looked beautiful. This ... is home, Taran said. Mira laughed. Ha ha! Fitting. Inside, the ship was small, but clean. Metal walls, simple chairs, and a small pilot seat. Mira looked around like a child in a palace. Where? First, Mira asked. Taran pulled out a hologram map and said, We need clues. You said you trusted your council. Who among them would hide the jewel? Mira thought. Then, slowly, she said, Maybe. Master Errol. He was my father's advisor. He believed in old ways. Old ways? Ancient knowledge, symbols. He once spoke of the Temple of Echoes. What's that? It's a place built by humans long before Navarich was born. Temple holding maps, secrets, and knowledge. Maybe Errol hid the jewel's location there. Taran nodded. Where is this temple? Mira looked sad. Inside the silent sector, Taran frowned. He knew the name. Everyone did. The silent sector was a dead zone. Ships that went there often. Didn't return? Figures, Taran said, shaking his head. You scared? Mira joked. No, but my ship is. Mira smiled. Terran plotted the course. Engines roared. The wind chaser lifted into the night sky, leaving Terran 5 behind. As stars filled the windows, Myra sat quietly. It had been many years since she left a planet. She looked at the stars like seeing old friends. Terran watched her from the pilot's seat. "You really loved your city, didn't you?" he asked. Myra didn't reply. She just nodded. Hours passed. Suddenly alarms beeped. "What's wrong?" Mira stood up. Terran checked the screen. "We're not alone, Drexens. No slavers." Mira's heart raced. Outside the ship, too. Dark pirate crafts appeared, moving fast. "They think we're an easy target," Terran said calmly. "Are they wrong?" Terran grinned. "Very." Mira watched as Terran pushed buttons quickly. The wind chaser spun left, lasers firing from its small cannons. The pirates shot back, lasers flashing across space. "Can't outrun them," Terran said. "But maybe." "Outthink them." He flew the ship toward an asteroid field. Mira held onto the wall tightly. "You're crazy," Terran laughed.
Maybe.
The ship dived between rocks. Lasers blasted nearby stones, sending dust clouds across space. One pirate ship crashed into a rock and exploded. Mira cheered. "One down." The second ship followed closely. Terran pressed a button. A mine dropped behind the ship. Boom. Second pirate ship exploded. Mira stared in shock. "You did it," she said. Terran shrugged. "Just another day." Mira looked at him with new respect. "Why are you helping me, really?" she asked softly. Terran thought for a moment, then said, "Because... humans stick together. That's how we survive." Mira felt something warm inside her heart. She nodded slowly. Hours later, the wind chaser left the asteroid field and headed toward the silent sector. "We're getting close," Terran said. Mira felt nervous. She had once been a princess with armies. She was just a girl with one old ship and one desert trader. But for the first time in years, she felt hope. "Soon," she whispered. "Soon, I'll take back what's mine." Terran looked at her and smiled slightly. "Let's find your star jewel." Together, they flew into the darkness. The silent sector was darker than Myra remembered. Stars looked dim there, and strange clouds of blue and green gas floated between dead planets. The air felt heavy inside the ship, though both Mira and Terran knew it was only fear working in their minds. "This place feels wrong," Myra whispered, looking out the small window. Terran nodded. "Many ships entered here. Few came back." Still, the wind chaser moved forward. Terran trusted his old engines, and Mira trusted Terran. Soon, they saw it. The Temple of Echoes. It stood on a small moon built from black stone. Giant statues of human faces looked out from the temple's walls, their eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. It looked ancient, forgotten by time, yet still alive. Mira felt her hands shake. "This is it," she said softly. Terran landed the ship carefully near the temple. Engines cooled. Silence returned. They both stepped outside. The ground was cold and hard. No wind. No sound. "Let's move," Terran said, blaster ready. They walked toward the giant doors. Mira touched the old stones. Strange energy hummed through them, like the temple was breathing. She found a symbol on the door. It was the same royal crest she carried. She pressed her hand over it. The doors opened. Inside, the temple was dark, but the walls glowed with soft blue lines. Ancient machines clicked softly, still working after hundreds of years. Symbols in human. Language floated in the air. "This place was built before Neva," whispered, "but by your people." Mira nodded. They moved deeper. At last, they reached a round hall. In the center, a small pedestal stood. On top of it, a metallic cube spun slowly. Light floated above the cube, showing a hologram map. "It's the map." Mira gasped. Terran watched the spinning images. A planet system. A star chart. "Is this where the star jewel is hidden?" he asked. Mira stepped closer, reading the symbols. "I think so." "But I need time to understand." Suddenly, Mira froze. Terran noticed too. Did you hear that? He asked. Footsteps. Voices. Mira's heart raced. It's them, she whispered. From the dark hallways, shadows appeared. Soldiers wearing black armor and red helmets. Drexen scouts, one of them taller than the rest, pointed at Mira. There, the human princess. Terran raised his blaster. Run, Mira. Lasers shot through the hall. Blue bolts of energy hit the walls, sending sparks everywhere. Terran fired back. Covering Mira, she grabbed the spinning cube from the pedestal and ran toward the exit. Drexens followed. Shouting in their strange alien language, Terran moved fast, shooting from behind stone pillars, leading Mira through the temple's dark halls. Mira heard Terran's voice. Left. Go left. She ran, her heart pounding. Finally, they reached the giant doors. But more Drexens waited outside. We're trapped, Mira cried. Tareen looked up at the statues above the door. Not yet. He fired his blaster at the stone ceiling. The ancient rocks cracked and fell. Heavy stones crushed the Drexens waiting outside. Go now, Terran shouted. Mira and Terran sprinted back to the wind chaser. Firing behind them, Drexens from inside the temple ran after them. Mira jumped inside the ship. Terran followed, hitting the door controls. The door slammed shut. We need to leave, Mira said. I know, Terran shouted, running to the pilot seat. The wind chaser's engines roared. Drexens outside shot at the ship, lasers hitting the hull. The ship lifted, rising into the dark sky. A few seconds later, they were back in space. Mira fell to her knees, breathing hard. She looked at the small cube in her hands. We got it. ... Eight. She whispered. Terran smiled tiredly. Ain't barely. Mira stood up and sat beside him in the cockpit. Why were Drexens waiting for us? She asked. Terran's face grew serious. They must have followed us from Terran 5 or ... Someone told them. Mira looked down, feeling sadness and anger mix inside her. Someone still wants me dead. No, Tareen said, looking at her. Someone fears you'll return. Mira closed her eyes. After some time, she opened the cube again. The small map floated above it. This map shows the silent rift, she said. What's that? Terran? Asked. Mira pointed to a swirling cloud in the hologram. A dangerous space zone. Ships can't see inside. Only one safe path. And that's where the star jewel is hidden? Mira nodded. At the center, Terran sighed. Figures what now? Mira asked. Terran looked at the stars ahead. Now we find your star jewel, Mira smiled. For the first time in many years, she felt hope returning. She held the cube tight and silently. She promised herself, I will take back my throne. The wind chaser moved quietly through space. Inside the ship, Mira and Terran sat side by side, staring at the glowing map above the small cube. The map showed their next destination, the Silent Rift, a dangerous zone where many ships were lost. Terran looked at Mira. Are you sure the star jewel is there? Mira nodded slowly. Master Errol trusted the ancient places. The Temple of Echoes pointed here. This must be the place. Terran leaned back in his seat and sighed. All right, but you should know. No sane person flies into the Silent Rift. Not sane, Mira said, smiling slightly. Terran smiled too. Fair enough. Hours passed. Stars faded behind them as they approached the Silent Rift. It looked like a massive wall of swirling clouds. Blue, purple, and black mist danced like living shadows. Lightning flashed inside the clouds. Mira shivered. Out. It's like a storm in space. Tareen checked the ship's systems. If we lose power in there, we're dead. Scared? Mira asked, teasing him. Tareen shook his head. Smart. Mira laughed softly. Then the ship entered the rift. Darkness swallowed them. Inside the rift, nothing was clear. Sensors failed. Navigation stopped working. The swirling clouds blocked every signal. Strange sounds echoed through the ship like whispers from nowhere. I hate this, Terran said, holding the controls tightly. Mira checked the cube map again. The hologram flickered, but still showed a small path. This map is old, but it shows the way. Taran followed Mira's directions carefully. Left, then down, then sharp right. One wrong move could send them into a cloud that crushed the ship. Suddenly something hit the ship. What was that? Mira gasped. Taran looked at the screens. Drones. Drones. Old defense machines. Probably left here to guard the jewel. Metal shapes flew out of the clouds. Black drones with red lights. They spun fast, firing small laser blasts at the ship. Great, more trouble, Taran shouted. He pulled the ship hard left as lasers flashed past them. Mira watched in fear. We outrun them? Not in this cloud? Taran pressed a button. Small cannons under the ship started firing. Boom, one drone exploded. But more kept coming. They're fast, Mira said. Taran kept flying, dodging between cloud waves and drones. Mira had an idea. What if we use the gas? What? The clouds? If we fly close to the thick gas, maybe the drones can't see us? Taran thought fast. Worth a try? He turned the wind chaser sharply into a thick, dark cloud. The ship shook his energy. Crackled around them. The drones followed, but soon their red lights flickered. Inside the gas, their sensors failed. Now, Mira shouted. Taran fired a full blast. Boom. Boom. Drones exploded in the gas, one by one. Finally, silence. Mira sighed. In relief, we did it. Taran smiled. Smart thinking. The ship slowly left the gas cloud and continued forward. Hours passed at last. The map showed a blinking point. We're here, Mira whispered. They reached a clearing inside the rift. In the center floated a giant stone sphere, cracked and covered in ancient symbols. It spun slowly in space. Light came from inside the cracks. What is that? Taran asked. Mira stared at the sphere. The star jewel must be inside. Taran flew the ship closer and found a small docking port. He landed carefully. Stay here, he told Mira. Double quotes. No, I'm coming. Taran wanted to argue, but one look at her face told him she wouldn't stay behind. They both stepped out of the ship and entered the vault Dawn inside. The walls glowed softly. Strange writing covered the walls. The air felt heavy, like time itself was frozen. Mira felt her heart beating fast. At the center of the chamber, floating in midair, was a crystal. The star jewel. It shone with bright blue light, spinning slowly. Energy hummed around it. It looked both beautiful and powerful. Mira stepped forward, eyes wide. Finally, ... She reached out her hand. Suddenly the floor shook. What now? One shouted. From the walls, defense drones activated. 4 large machines floated up, aiming weapons at Mira and Taran. It's a trap, Mira cried. Taran fired quickly, hitting the nearest drone, but their shields were strong. Mira, get the jewel. Get the jewel. I'll hold them off, Taran shouted. Mira nodded. She ran toward the crystal while Taran fought the drones. Lasers flashed everywhere. Sparks fell from the ceiling. Mira remembered her father's words long ago. The star jewel listens to human touch. She took a deep breath and placed both hands on the crystal. Light exploded around her. Taran shielded his eyes. Drones froze. In place, Mira stood still, surrounded by blue energy. The jewel's power filled her mind. She saw images of Nova Reach, her people, her family. She felt their hope. She whispered softly, I'm coming home. The crystal shrank suddenly, turning into a small glowing gem, resting in her hands. The energy faded. The drones powered down. Taran ran to her. Are you all right? Mira nodded. Holding the jewel close to her chest. We have it. Taran smiled. Now what? He asked. Mira looked at him and said, with strength in her voice, now, ... we take back Nova Reach. Together they ran back to the ship, as the vault of stars collapsed behind them. The wind chaser flew out of the rift, carrying the last hope of a fallen city, and Mira felt ready. Her fight was not over. It was just beginning. The wind chaser flew through open space. Behind them, the dangerous clouds of the silent rift disappeared. In front of them lay stars and freedom. Inside the ship, Mira sat quietly, holding the star jewel close to her chest. Its blue light glowed, softly, like a heartbeat. Terran watched her from the pilot's seat. He said nothing. Mira finally looked up. "What's wrong?" Terran didn't answer at first. Then he said softly, "We have the star jewel now. You can take back your city." Mira nodded. "And after that?" Terran asked. Mira frowned. "What do you mean?" Terran turned the ship onto autopilot and stood up. He walked slowly toward Mira. "After, you win. ... What happens to me?" Mira stood too. "You'll get your reward, I promised." Terran stared at her. "A piece of stone?" Mira was confused. "You said you were helping because we are both human." Terran looked away. Mira understood suddenly. Her voice changed. "You were thinking of selling the star jewel?" Silence filled the small ship. Terran closed his eyes. He looked ashamed. "Yes," he said at last. Mira felt like her heart broke again. "You wanted to sell my last hope to the black markets," she whispered. "I thought about it," Terran admitted. "A jewel like that could make me rich forever." Mira said nothing. Her hand gripped the star jewel tighter. Terran stepped closer. "But I didn't." "Why?" "Because you trusted me." Mira looked at him, tears shining in her eyes. "I trusted someone once before. They betrayed me. That's why the Drexens took my city." Terran nodded slowly.
No.
For a long moment, they both stood in silence. Then Mira said softly, "I thought you were different." Terran reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device, tracking beacon. "I kept this to call a buyer, ... just in case." Mira's heart stopped, without another word. Terran crushed the beacon in his hand. "I'm not that person anymore," he said. Mira watched him, unsure if she should believe. Terran's voice was steady now. "I'm not here for money. Not anymore. I'm here because you reminded me why humans fight. For more than just profit. For hope." Mira looked down. Then slowly she placed the star jewel into a small metal box and locked it. "I don't trust easily," she said quietly. "I don't ask for your trust," Terran said. "I ask for your belief. I'm with you. Until the end." Mira looked into his eyes. She saw truth there. After a moment, she whispered, "All right." Terran smiled softly. Then Mira joked, trying to hide her pain. "Ah, restore my throne, and maybe I'll forgive you." Terran laughed too. "Deal." A small light blinked on the ship's control screen. Terran checked it. His face turned serious. "What now?" Mira asked. "Drexen warships. They're near Noverge, blocking the planet." Mira's heart raced. "They know we're coming." Terran nodded. Mira looked out the window at the stars. "We have no army," she whispered. "We have this ship and each other," Terran said. Mira held the star jewel box tightly. "I have to go back." Terran looked at her. "Then we'll go back." Mira sat beside him in the cockpit. Together, they changed course. The wind chaser flew forward. Mira felt afraid, but stronger than before. She knew the battle ahead would decide everything. The lost princess was going home. After some hours, Nevera appeared in front of them. The floating city was darker now, its towers broken, lights dim. The once beautiful city looked like a ghost in space around it. Drexen warships floated like monsters, guarding the stolen city. Mira stared at her home. "I will save you," she whispered Terran. "Watch the ships carefully. We can't fight them head-on." "I know," Mira said. "We sneak inside." Terran smiled. "Finally, a plan I like." Using the small size of the wind chaser, they approached the city from the shadows of broken satellites. Mira remembered hidden tunnels under the cities. "Outer platforms. I used to play in those tunnels when I was a child," she said. "Good. Let's hope no one's waiting." The ship moved carefully, avoiding Drexen scanners. Finally, they found a small opening in the city's lower wall. "We're in," Terran said. They parked the ship and stepped out. Mira looked around. Dust and silence filled the old tunnels. "It's strange," Mira said softly. "This place was full of life." "Let's bring that life back," Terran said. Together, they walked deeper into the tunnels. Mira knew the way. At the heart of the city was the throne chamber. There, the main control systems could be accessed. And with the star jewel, Mira could activate the defense grid, but they had to move fast, soon. Footsteps echoed in the tunnels. Drexen patrols, Terran whispered. Mira's heart raced. She pulled out a small pulse gun. Terran looked at her. Ready. Always. They moved through the shadows, sneaking past Drexen guards. Every step brought Mira closer to her throne, but also closer to danger, in the silence of the broken city. Hope returned, Mira. The last princess had come home. Her fight was not over. It had just begun. The tunnels under Novarich were dark and silent. Mira and Terran moved carefully, their steps light, their weapons ready. Somewhere above them, the Drexens ruled the city that once belonged to Mira's family. Mira touched the cold metal walls. "I played here when I was small," she whispered. "Now you'll rule from here again," Terran said softly. Mira smiled, but fear sat deep inside her heart. Still, she held the star jewel box tightly. It was her hope. Her city's hope. Move through the old maintenance halls until they reached a locked door. Mira stopped. "Behind this door is the throne chamber," she said. Terran nodded. "Let's open it." Mira used her old royal code. The control screen blinked red. "It's locked from inside." Terran looked around. "We don't have time," Mira thought fast. "The emergency hatch. It's small. Only I can fit." Terran frowned. No, it's too dangerous." Mira looked him in the eyes. "This is my city. My fight." Terran stayed silent, but finally nodded. He helped Mira open the small hatch. "I'll cover you from here," he said. Mira smiled. "I'll see you in the throne room." With that, she crawled into the narrow tunnel, the box held tightly in one hand, her small pulse gun in the other. She moved silently. Each second felt longer than the last. At the end of the tunnel, she found a small grate, a throne. Chamber, it was large, with tall walls of glass and metal. Once bright and full of people, now it stood broken and empty. Drexen soldiers stood guard near the throne. Sitting on the throne was a Drexen warlord, armored, cruel. Mira's blood boiled. She pushed the grate softly and slipped inside. Hiding behind a broken pillar, her heart raced. The star jewel needed to be placed into the main control slot near the throne. Only then could she activate the defense grid and take back the city. She waited. The guards talked in their strange language. Carefully, Mira moved behind the pillars, step by step, until she reached the control slot beside the throne. Her hands shook as she unlocked the box. The star jewel glowed softly. One guard turned suddenly. Mira froze. The guard growled and stepped closer. Mira had no choice. She fired her pulse gun. The guard fell. The others saw her. Alarms rang. The Drexen warlord stood, shouting orders. Mira ran to the control panel. Shots fired around her. Outside the main door, Terran heard the alarms. He knew Mira was in trouble. He blasted the door lock with his blaster. The door opened. Terran charged inside, firing at the Drexens. "Mira, hurry." Mira placed the star jewel into the control slot. The control panel lit up. The city's ancient systems came alive. "Hurry," Terran shouted again. Dodging laser shots, the Drexen warlord roared and charged toward Mira. She pressed the activation button. The floor shook. From deep inside the city, lights flashed. Cannons hidden in the towers powered up. Shields formed around. The city Tareen watched in shock as the walls shimmered with blue energy. "It's working." Mira cried. The Drexen warlord lunged at her. Terran fired. The warlord stumbled, but kept moving. Mira, with no weapon left, grabbed a metal rod from the floor and struck the warlord's helmet. He roared in anger. Terran ran forward, shooting again. Finally, the Drexen warlord fell. Silenced, Mira fell to her knees. Breathing hard, Tareen helped her stand. You did it, he said. Mira looked at the control panel. The city was fully awake. We did it. Outside, the city's cannons fired at the Drexen warships. Explosions filled the sky, one by one. The enemy ships were destroyed. The city's shields blocked their return fire. Inside the throne chamber, Mira watched the battle on the screens. Her city was fighting back. She turned to Tareen. We've won. Taryn smiled. Mira sat slowly on the throne. She looked around the empty hall. Too many died for this moment, she said softly. But you brought hope back, Taryn said. Mira nodded. Outside, the last Drexen ship exploded. Peace returned to Nova reached, the alarms stopped. Silence. Mira looked at the throne beneath her. Once, she had sat here as a child, playing. Now she sat as a ruler. But her heart felt heavy. Tareen stood beside her. What now? He asked. Mira looked at him, her eyes calm. Now, we rebuild. In the days that followed, Mira sent messages. Across the galaxy, her people returned. Families who had run away came back to their city. Workers fixed the broken towers. Lights filled the streets. Once again, children laughed. Novarich was alive. Mira ruled from her throne but visited the streets. Often, people loved her, not because she was queen, but because she cared. Taryn stayed too. She made him her ambassador, her protector, and her friend. One evening, standing at the top of the city tower, Mira looked at the stars. Taryn stood beside her. Promised you something? Mira said softly. She gave him a small shard of the star jewel. Enough to power your ship forever, she said, smiling. Taryn looked at the shard and then at her. I didn't help you for this. I know, Mira said. That's why you deserve it. They stood silently, watching the night sky. Mira whispered, I have my throne back. Taryn nodded, and I have my purpose back. Mira laughed softly. Ha. I guess we both won. Taryn smiled above them. Stars shone brightly, and Novarich stood strong once again. Weeks passed. The city of Novarich slowly returned to life. Towers were repaired. Lights glowed in every street. Humans from across the galaxy returned to their home, believing in their leader once again. At the center of it all sat Mira, the last princess, now the true ruler. She spent her days in the throne chamber and her nights walking the streets, talking to her people. Wherever she went, people smiled. Children followed her. Old workers nodded with respect, but Myra knew the peace was not yet strong. One morning, she stood on the balcony of the high tower, looking down at the city. The wind touched her face. She held the small royal crest in her hand, the same one she carried since her escape. Footsteps came behind her. It was Tareen. You're awake early, Brett, he said. I barely sleep now, Mira replied, worried.
Not.
Worried? She said softly. Just thinking. About what? Mira turned to him. About the future. Drexens were only one danger. The galaxy is full of others. We have power now, but power needs protection and wisdom. Taryn stood beside her. You won your throne, Mira, and your people love you, but for how long? She whispered. Taryn stayed quiet. Mira looked out at the stars. I want to create something better, not just a city, force, a place where humans can stand strong together. So no enemy ever steals our home again? Taryn smiled slightly. An alliance. Yes, a human alliance. Taryn thought for a moment. You can do it. Mira looked at him. Only if people like you stay beside me. Taryn laughed softly. So I'm stuck here? Ha, forever? They both smiled, but their peace was soon broken. A voice came from Mira's wrist communicator. Your Majesty, a small ship is approaching. Alone. Mira frowned. What ship? No ID, small. Fast. Mira looked at Taryn. Let's go. Minutes later, Mira and Taryn stood in the command room. On the large screen, they saw the small ship approaching Novarich. Open a channel, Mira ordered. The screen flickered. A face appeared. Myra's eyes widened. It was Master Errol, the old advisor. The man she once trusted. Errol, Mira whispered. He looked older now, tired, but his eyes still burned with intelligence. Princess Mira. No princess now, she said. I'm queen. Errol smiled slightly. I see that. You did what I hoped. You hid the star jewel, Mira said. Why? To protect it from your council, Errol replied. Someone among them betrayed you. I didn't know who. So I hid the jewel and disappeared. You could have told me. Couldn't risk it. Even I was watched. Mira's heart felt heavy. Why are you here now? She asked. Errol's face grew serious. Because your fight isn't over. Do you mean? Errol looked at her carefully. The Drexens weren't working alone. Silence filled the room. They were hired, Errol continued, by a power greater than them. Myra felt cold. Who? I don't know yet. But someone. Fears Noverch. Fears humans. Terran spoke now. Why fear us? Errol looked at him. Because humans, when united, are stronger than any empire. Mira stood silent. Errol's voice softened. That's why I'm here, to help you, if you'll let me. Mira looked at Terran. He gave a small nod. She turned back. To the screen, come home, Errol, the old man smiled. Hours later, Errol stood before Mira in the throne chamber. His head bowed with respect. I'm sorry I left you, he said. Mira touched his shoulder. And I'm sorry I doubted you. Terran watched from the side. He didn't trust Errol yet, but he trusted Mira. Errol began helping immediately. Knew the city's systems. He knew the old codes, and he had knowledge of the outer worlds. With his help, Mira started building her alliance. Messages were sent to every human colony. Soldiers, workers, and leaders gathered at Noverich. They listened to Mira speak in the great hall. Her voice was clear, strong. Today we are free, but tomorrow we may face new enemies. Together, we will not just survive, we will rise. We will protect every human world. This city will be our heart, our hope. Cheers filled the halls. Mira smiled. Beside her, Terran whispered, You sound like a queen now. Mira whispered back, I feel like one. Days passed. The city changed. From a broken place to a fortress. But not a fortress of fear, fortress of unity. Terran stood on the city wall. Looking at the ships arriving from every direction. Mira joined him. Do you regret helping me? She asked softly. Terran looked at her smiling. Never. They watched the skies together. Then Mira spoke. One day maybe we'll have peace. Tyreen nodded. One day. But until then, Mira smiled, her eyes sharp. We fight. Tyreen laughed softly. We fight. Above them, stars shone bright, and Noverich stood, stronger than ever. A city no longer waiting to fall, but ready to lead.